Darkness doesn't just fall on these stories, it lingers. It seeps into the cracks between logic and belief, into places where answers should be but aren't. Here we don't chase conclusions, we follow the trail of unease. Tonight we look at 3 real events, documented, witnessed, remembered, that continue to haunt history, because no one has ever been able to explain them. So settle in and listen closely, because some stories don't end, they just get quieter. Welcome to Sounds of the Unknown. They called it a tragedy, but not everyone believed it was just that. It was Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The Sodder family, George, Jenny, and their 10 children, were gathered for the holidays in their 2-story home. Presents had been opened, cookies baked, lights twinkled on the tree. At around 1 a.m., a fire broke out. It spread fast, too fast. George, Jenny, and 4 of the children escaped, but 5 others, Morris, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, were trapped upstairs, or so it seemed. The house burned to the ground in 45 minutes, but when the ashes cooled, something strange happened. Nothing was found, no bones, no remains, no evidence that the children had perished in the fire. Authorities said the blaze had been too intense, that the bodies had simply burned away, but local cremation experts disagreed. Human bones don't vanish, not entirely, not in a house fire. And then came the sightings. A woman claimed she saw the missing Sodder children peering from the back of a car as the house burned. Another said they were taken by a man with a foreign accent. Years later, a photo arrived in the mail. No return address. On the back, a message. Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. Illeal boys. A 90,132 or 35. The face in the photo? A young man, grown up now, but bearing an eerie resemblance to one of the boys who'd vanished that night. Was it a cruel hoax or a message sent in secret? The Sodders never stopped searching. They bought billboards, hired private investigators, knocked on doors for decades, but they never found their children, and no one ever found the truth. In the quiet town of Hexham, England, 1958, something strange was happening in the Pollock household. Florence and John Pollock had just welcomed twin daughters, Gillian and Jennifer, after losing their 2 older daughters, Joanna and Jacqueline, in a tragic car accident the year before. At first it seemed like a miracle, a second chance. But then the girls began to speak. At age 2, they started asking for toys that belonged to Joanna and Jacqueline, specific ones long since stored away. When taken to a town they had never visited, they pointed out landmarks and said things like, "That's where we used to go to school. That's where we had the accident." One of them had a birthmark in the exact same spot where her older sister had a scar. By age 5, the memories faded, as if someone had closed a book. Reincarnation, genetic memory, or something even stranger. Science has tried to explain it, suggesting parental influence, subconscious suggestion, or coincidence. But the Pollocks were adamant. They never spoke of the accident around the twins, never shared details. So how did they know? To this day, the Pollock Twins case is considered one of the strongest anecdotes in reincarnation research. Not proof, but a whisper from somewhere we don't yet understand. Far in the remote valleys of central Norway, In a place called Hessdalen, the night sky flickers, but not with stars, with something else. They began in the early 1980s. Strange lights pulsating in the sky, bright orbs that hovered, zigzagged, or darted away faster than the eye could follow. Locals had seen them before quietly. They called them the Lights. But in 81, they got bolder. They came often, sometimes several times a night. White, yellow, blue. People started gathering on hilltops just to watch. Cameras were set up, scientists came. What they found was unnerving. The lights didn't behave like anything explainable. They weren't stars, they weren't aircraft. Some stayed still for hours. Others moved like they were under intelligent control. Radar picked them up. So did spectrometers. But they had no source. They weren't flares. They weren't drones. This was decades before drones existed. And then, just like that, they slowed. By the late 80s, the sightings became rare, but they never stopped. To this day, people still report them. Less often, but just as baffling. Theories range from plasma discharges to geological anomalies. Even secret military tech. But no one, not one scientific team, has ever definitively explained what causes the Hessdalen Lights. They just appear and vanish, like signals from another world or from just beneath ours. So here we are, 3 events, 3 truths, but no conclusions. Children who vanish without a trace. Twins who seem to remember lives they never lived. Lights in the sky that have no source, no logic, and no end. Science has tried to catch them, tried to define them. But these stories slip through our fingers like fog. And maybe that's what makes them matter. Because in a world full of measurements, formulas, and hard lines, some things still shiver in the shadows, unmeasured, unmarked. They remind us that we don't know everything, not yet, and maybe never. Thank you for watching Sounds of the Unknown. If these stories gave you pause, if they stayed with you even after the screen went dark, this is your place. Here we explore what doesn't fit, what resists logic, what lingers. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with someone who doesn't mind a little mystery. And tell us in the comments, which of these stories unsettled you most? And which one do you think might just be true? Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, not every answer is meant to be found.